I can hear you. Mm. Yeah, fantastic. I got my tea and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. My goodness. Yes, I'm loving it. Yes, yes. Yes, of course. Right. Hey, Alana. I love her. She's so sweet. Yes. Me. Ooh, what's not been going on? I recently moved to New York City, whoop, whoop, about a month and 3 days ago. So, yeah, it's been a really like amazing and overwhelming experience. I feel like it's second home to me because I've come to New York City a lot of times. I have family here, but when you move into a city, sometimes it's like, okay, I need to get used to it. I came in and I was like, this is like home for me. So the transition between, because I was in Georgia before this, so the transition between Georgia and New York City was just, the environment was just so much, like it was just so much easier than I thought it was going to be. So that was great. And so yeah. Mm. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh my goodness. I mean, just the fear of executing, just doing it alone was scarier than, it really was. I mean, just every little thing, because I mean, I had a lot going on before the move. I went to UPTA, which is basically like a conference where you audition in front of a bunch of theaters. So I was in Georgia doing contracts, and then after that was over, I went to Memphis to do the UPTA, perform at UPTA. And then literally the next day, I drove back to Georgia and flew to New York that next day. So within a week, I was moving around so much. And so I had to have so many like steps as far as planning and putting everything together and making sure I get to Memphis on time and then make sure I get to back to Georgia on time so I can catch my flight. Like it was just so many different steps that I needed to take. And that was scary because if something goes wrong, things can start to shift and shake. And that's a lot for anybody. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me, it kinda, I think about like a Jenga tower and how you're having to pull out the pieces to put everything to kind of to further the future. You have to sometimes you gotta pull from the piece and, keep stacking. And so yes, you gotta pull, and so when you're doing that, it can get a little rocky, it can get a little shaky, and so it's scary to think that, "Okay, I'm doing all of these things while I'm trying to make this big transition." And, I mean, I did it with a lot of prayer, ooh, a lot of meditation, and a lot of support from you and family and friends. Like, I could not have done it without you guys. So, that alone really kinda laid the foundation of strength and of courage to get it done. Ooh, child. Yeah. It was, the plane I was on was JetBlue. Yeah, and yes, in Atlanta, Georgia. And first off, my luggage, I had to make sure that my luggage was gonna pass because I was bringing my entire life with me. And so I had 2 suitcases. I knew I was have to pay extra for the suitcase, but it was over the limit. And so I remember panicking like, "Okay, India, we just gotta keep a straight face, pretend it's under, 50, 40 pounds, whatever the max is." You know, we're like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, no, no, it's right." Even though they have a big mechanism that weighs your luggage. I'm like, "No, that's baloney. My face is showing. You're wrong. I'm right." So, I went up there and you could tell there were 2 females there, and you can tell they were stressed because they were overwhelmed. They're like, you're 2 pounds over. You need to go in the back and like move some clothes around." I'm like, so, like, right when I got to the front, someone else came to another like counter and was like, "I can take the next person." And you can tell his energy was different. I was like, "Lord, this is it. Okay, let's do it." I went up. Yes, and that's so much easier to flow with, you know what I mean? So, it's just easier to deal with. So, I went up to him and I kept that straight face. I was like, "Here's my luggage. I know I'm paying extra for one. I already got the receipt. Let's do it." And I was like, I think I was like maybe 5 pounds over, and he was like, "It's all right." I said, "Thank you so much." I was like, "Thank you." I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." I was like, I waited twice, the whole idea of like measuring twice, cut once, measure twice. I waited twice. I can't believe this. My scale must be off. I just thank you so much, sir." And he was like, "No problem, no problem." I said, "Thank you, Lord." I said, "Thank you." So when I say affirmations after affirmations after affirmations, even before I even purchased the plane ticket, the one-way plane ticket to New York, it was affirmation after affirmation that I am doing what I'm supposed to, regardless of how scary or any obstacles in the way. It showed that I was on the right path. And so, yeah, the flow as far as getting my luggage on, all the fear and anxiety and stress was for
Mhm.
me. It wasn't from anything on the outside. And that's what I mean as far as like affirmations being positive and showing you that you're on the right path. Any anxiety, you have to check yourself and make sure that like the stress and anxiety isn't just coming from your own thoughts
Yeah.
versus targeting it towards obstacles and be like, "Oh, well, because of you or because of this is why I'm stressed." No, it's your fears. It's you allowing your fear to take advantage of the situation and allowing you to chicken out and allowing you to keep from going. So it it was me, it was my anxiety, it was my fear, like, what if this happened, what if that happened, the what if monster, would you call it, the what if monster.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
um,
Alana just told me that my audio has not been coming out this entire time. So how about that for it's been straight up it's been
oh
straight up India, like, which I'm here for. Like, isn't she lovely?
no
Yes, yes.
beautiful,
So we'll see. We'll see
beautiful.
if that gets better. Let me actually turn this up real quick and see it. Oh, there we
Oh, I
go.
can
There we go.
hear
Okay, so now I'm
I can
back
hear
in the
you.
room. Yeah, this is so funny. When you do a First thing. Okay, so let's pause for a second because okay,
Yeah.
right? Because we're up to, as you call it, a commercial break. We're up to
Yes.
we're up to like you being about to get on the plane at the airport. All right.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna pause your story for a second because
Yes.
I didn't have any audio. Thank you, Alana, for letting us know.
Yes,
And
Nana. Thank
talk about the moment when you decide to do something new.
the
Which
moment when you decide to do something
which is
new.
still in the same vibe of what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, I've been running Love City Arts along with community for the last 2 years, and there's always new ideas coming up. And there's
Yeah.
that moment when you have a new idea where you have to say, oh man, am I going to try this and risk completely falling on my ass?
In my face. Yes. Yes.
A la you getting on the plane and coming here.
Woo.
I'm not going to risk all of that, um, to possibly fail. It's like,
Mhm.
what if my audio doesn't work for the whole first 10 minutes of the damn live?
Trial and error, baby. Trial and error.
I mean, this is what it means to just continually put yourself out there
Yeah.
over and over again. And I hope that if nothing else comes from these lives, it is people seeing that, you know, a new opportunity is possible for you if you will
Yes.
reach out and if you will grab it.
Yes. Yes. If you do it, regardless if your audio is on or not, the fear of whether or not the audio is on is going to be with you, and you can allow it to, keep you back or allow you to flourish
Yes.
with the 10 minutes of no audio. We're beautiful people.
I
You're looking
mean,
at us.
the get was you anyway. The get was hearing about your path and what you're doing. So I'm with it. I'm with
Yeah.
it from level to level. Okay. So
Yes.
and I think I haven't heard if Alana says that we are back, but I think my
Mhm.
audio is working. So life is
Yeah.
good. Um so you have cleared the weight
Yeah.
situation.
Yes. The
Uh,
baggage.
the back, oh, which is
You cleared the baggage.
that's a whole
Come on.
don't do it.
Come on.
That's a whole different sermon. That's a whole
Right?
different sermon. All right, so you've cleared the baggage
Yes.
and you are now heading to the gate. And
Mhm.
what are your feelings? Are you on time? Are you running late?
Oh my gosh, I was like a good hour, hour and a half early.
Hmm.
Because or I started heading out about 2.5 hours early because I've learned my lesson with the airports, they can be super, super busy or you can get through with ease. And I got through with relative ease, but you just never know. So I was sitting there and I made my phone calls of people that were like, if you don't tell me what's going on, I'm like, okay. So I made my phone calls and was like, hey, I'm here. I'm about to board, blah, blah, blah. I was just ready. I was ready because I had an opportunity to stay in New York last year in May. And you were there and I was on that rooftop and I had so much love around me and support. And they were like, jump, jump, you can do it on a rooftop, saying, jump, jump, you can do it.
Which is
Right?
pure irony.
Right?
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
Just jump, jump, you can do it. And I said, I have a car full of stuff in someone else's garage in Pennsylvania. No. And I walked away and I went down to Georgia. I'm happy I did. I went down to Georgia because I've learned so much within not even a year.
Mm.
Personally and professionally, I've grown so much. But I know I was supposed to stay in New York because of the way things happened in Georgia. So with all that being said, she was ready. She was ready to go.
She was right. She
I
was
was
right.
ready to go.
Uh,
Yes.
uh.
So it was so much when until I got here, there wasn't so much fear. There was just more so excitement. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm doing this. This is happening." Like when I purchased the ticket, I was like, "Mom," before I purchased it because it was cheap. Like another set of affirmations. Like I could
Mhm.
afford the plane ticket. It was cheap as hell. So I was like, "Mama, like should I do this?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm doing this." Like as I'm putting in my numbers, I'm like, "Oh, this is happening." And I sent it and I was like, "I'm moving to New York." Like that's it. That was the affirmation, the
Well, I
receipt.
mean, the moment you decide, okay, so now we're gonna pause again and talk about one more thing,
Yes.
and just add it to the list of things that we're talking about today. The moment that you decide that you want to do something, I really believe that all of the forces of the universe like rise to meet you. The
Mm-hmm.
universe is waiting on us to write that first line. The universe is waiting on us to
Mm.
sing that first line. The universe is waiting on us to buy that plane ticket. I was in a
Whew.
very similar situation to you 6, 7 years ago, where it's just like buying that one-way ticket into that town that you have no clue what's going to happen, but it's like this confident slash faithful action.
Faith.
It
Yes.
like it's you just have to put yourself out there the best that you
Yeah.
can. And so the moment you said send on the ticket, you're like,
It was like a moment of like stillness. You kind of like, that moment, breath control. And you're taking singing lessons for anybody that know.
teach
You
the
take that
children.
breath,
Mhm.
you take that breath, and it's not like you're not holding your breath, but you're allowing it to be still before you release. And that was the moment there. That once I hit send and they took my money for my plane ticket,
Yes.
that was that
When
moment
they
I was like,
snatch the ducats.
yes, I was like, okay, this is happening. And I took that deep breath. And like you said, the universe, because I hit send, was doing its work. And whoo, child, they're doing it. It's I'm here, and it's better than I thought it was going to be.
That's so
Um,
great. That's so great. So let's
yes.
let's talk for a few minutes about what it was like for baby India. This month is National Youth Arts Month. It's
Yes.
also Women's International Month, if I'm not mistaken. Give it up for women everywhere. And so I don't know if Alana's saying it was the sound was good or the sound was bad or the sound was
Are
coming.
we clear?
Like, am I just speaking into a tunnel somewhere? I don't know.
That's
It's all
fine.
good. So, give it up for all the women, Alana and included,
Yes.
that um, just pave the way for love and compassion in all of our hearts, day in and day
Mhm.
out. Um,
Mhm.
uh, tell me about your beginning as an artist, because we all have those moments in our lives, or a series of moments in our lives where art just grabs you and takes hold of your entire existence. What
Yeah.
was that like for you?
Well, I mean, growing up, I was always singing. I like Alicia Keys was the one that I like. I don't Fallen, the song Fallen.
Hmm.
I can remember as a child, like, you want to hear me sing Fallen from Alicia Keys? And I would just sing
Which is
it.
a
And
very
then
grown song for a child to be
let me
singing.
tell you, I was dramatic as a child. I was like that. Apparently, when I was little, because like my aunts and my mom, like they were just pregnant, like their pregnancy all around. Like we had a family full of women. So when I
Mm,
was little, this skinny little me would like hold my stomach and be like, "Oh, Granny, I'm pregnant. I gotta, oh, this baby, I'm so tired." I would just do these like weird, outlandish, like grown things. Like I would just like I was super over dramatic. I would like be singing, like I knew all the words to every Disney movie. Like I was doing the absolute most as a
mm,
child. So
mm.
that's I'm not surprised that Fallen was my go-to.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I would sing that. I would in the church choir, like I would sing. I mean, I love singing. All throughout middle school and high school, I was singing. Now, I'm a musical theater performer.
Hmm.
I didn't really start that until high school, late high school, actual theater. I didn't really start. I did show choir, which is a little it's different. But I didn't really start until after I graduated. My first year, I went to University of Memphis, and the moment that I realized that I was going to be doing this professionally was that year. They had this competition called uh, Memphis Idol,
Okay.
and so I auditioned for it. Hundreds of people auditioned, and they picked four people for the actual finale performance, and it was me with three other guys. So I got selected. I'm like, yes. Um, Long story short, during mic check of the night of the performance, mic check, I'm singing my song. It was a Lady Gaga song. I chose to sing a Lady Gaga song, and the one of the producers were like, India, you have to sing a written song, like an original piece.
Oh
And
Lord.
I said, huh?
That
So
that would have grounded me. And I'm sorry. What a
¿qué?
B
Lo siento, ¿qué?
C
Like,
E. Ah! Could you-
right? I was
Oh,
like shooketh,
yes.
shooketh. And so I mean, I was in panic because I had an hour to essentially write a song because I had songs written, but I didn't like them. I was like, there's one song that I've been kind of working on. Let's write it within an hour and perform it. I got up
Wow.
there and with the fear and just the anxiety of like, I don't even know these words, but we gonna sing. And with all the stuff that was happening, me being on stage, I still felt a sense of peace
Mm.
and happiness. And I felt like I was supposed to be there. Regardless of all the crap that I experienced an hour before performing, of saying, like, oh, India, no, you're supposed to sing an original piece. I still felt where I felt like I was where I belong. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I had to take a step back and be like, okay, well, after all of that crap that I just went through, and I still felt happy and I still felt like this is something I was supposed to do, that must mean something. Like I remember being on the stage and being extremely comfortable and extremely happy and like where I was supposed to be. And actually I won the competition, which was like beyond me. I was like,
Come
really?
on.
Uh
You gonna give us no, no, let me stop putting you on the spot. Like, I was like, you give us a little sample of the original song
oh my god.
about spoons.
You can find it somewhere. I'll send it. I'll put it on Love City Arts that one.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
but yeah, they like the award was to get the original piece, like the song that you sang, on their album because they had I'm losing. I think it's called Blue Tigers Production or something. They recently changed
So
it
you're taking all of the winners from these various contests and putting them
on the
onto
album.
their project. Yeah,
Yes,
that's cool.
yes, yes, yes. So my song was on there, which was really, really rewarding. It felt great. Um, so that was the moment that I realized at a very late age that this is what something I wanted to do. Like you have a lot of performers that been performing since they were fresh out the womb,
Hmm.
and whereas you have some late bloomers, if you want to call it, people that were like, okay, I think I want to pursue this at a later age. And that's kind of where I was. But I don't regret it for a second
Of
because I'm
course
out
not.
here.
I mean, I want to ask you about what that piece within the piece,
Yeah.
feels like for
Yeah.
you because I've had those moments in my work where I just felt like, dude, you're meant to be here. Like you're
Yeah.
and not in like a haughty like I'm better than anybody kind of way, but just kind of like a, you
Within
know,
yourself.
yeah, just kind of like you breathe in, you breathe out, and you're like, oh, like this is where I belong.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so tell me about what that feeling is like and what that feeling means to you.
I mean, it means the world. And my mom, which was crazy, like my family, my siblings and my mom came to the performance by surprise. Like, and I haven't seen them since I started school. So it was a very emotional surprise. And seeing them, in the audience smiling, seeing the judges watching me, all of that anxiety, all of the shifting with, okay, I have to change my song, all of that was rocking, but there was still that stillness of peace. And it was that's what kind of got me going. That's what kept me going. That's what kept me, as far as execution, that's why I did well, I feel like. That sense of peace and knowing that I belong here.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I can really explain it in detail, but you just know. It's a what do you call it? Internal experience. Like you just know in your gut that
Right.
you're supposed to be there. And that's what I felt. That
Do
sense
you
of peace.
believe, and I want to, there's four people now in the live, India, so I just
Hey
want to welcome
y'all.
everybody into the live. Thank you, Alana, again for correcting our sound issues. Alana was our sound engineer today, just being like, bruh,
Yes,
like,
come on, give her credit where it's due.
you
She is
better, you
sound
better,
engineer.
you better get your sound engineer credit, Alana. I want to welcome the four people who are watching into the live today. Just because we're so glad you're here. This is our first Love City Live that we have. The whole purpose of these online events is to connect artists that feel the way that India does about her
Mhm.
creativity with other artists that feel the same way. And perhaps you don't feel anything at all about your creativity. Maybe
Yeah.
something you hear during this hour will help uplift you and make you feel better about your day to day. We've already heard example after example from India about the ways in which she's just been taking these micro leaps in her life, and she's ended up in a completely different forget about a whole different headspace, but
Yeah.
in a whole different actual physical space.
Yeah.
And so thank you all for being here. Feel free to leave us a comment to let us know who you are and where you're watching from. Right now, we're streaming on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. So, hi to everybody out there. I hope that you can feel the love that we just want to put out from our network here.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're feeling now. Back to you. Um, back in is it Missouri or Memphis?
Yeah, I'm from Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay, yeah. So you're singing Fallen. All right, then you end up in the college contest.
Oh, yes, yes. Yes, yes. And then I went to Memphis to sing in the
Hmm.
contest. Yes.
Hmm.
And that was kind of that was the, I guess, big giant affirmation that I was supposed to be doing what I was doing on that stage, which is like improving a song and singing it with all my heart and selling it because I apparently sold it. Like being able to win the contest was just a big affirmation. And I think even if I didn't win, that feeling would have still been there. You know what I mean? Like the fact that the
Can
fact
we
that I
can we
won didn't mean
anchor that statement, because I think
yeah,
that's one of the missing links as well for people. You're
yeah,
saying even if you didn't
win, yeah.
win. Let me
Mhm.
see. I think that our other special guest might be trying to come on up in the room.
Come
So
on through.
let me get him on in here for a second and see if you can take him off of mute. Um, I want to finish up with India. Timothy, thank you so much for being here. I think that you're on. Oh, now you're unmuted, and that's how. Look at technology. Look
There
at
it is.
technology.
There it
Um,
is.
so feeling like you're right where you're supposed to be
Mhm. Mhm.
is what it's all about. Like feeling that you said no matter if I won or if I did not win,
Yeah.
I would still have felt like I was in the right spot.
Yeah. And I not only accomplished something, but I found something. Like that was more important. Like I found where I was supposed to be going. It wasn't definite, it wasn't specific. It wasn't like, okay, well, I just sang this song in this competition, I'm going to do musical theater. It wasn't like that. It was just I'm supposed to be performing. I'm supposed to be doing what I love. Like that was me giving myself permission
Mm,
to go for it. And that was already set before we found out who won that night. Like later on that night after the other performances. So it felt great. It was, and after that it was kind of like the rest is history. Like I transferred to Southeast Missouri State University
mhm.
and I tried out musical theater and fell in love with it and got the degree. And I've been out here, doing regional theater around, mostly around the East Coast, South and North and South East Coast area. And I've been loving it. It's been 2 years, 2.5 years or so, and um, I'm doing it.
Does it still feel as good to you as it felt when you were baby
Yeah,
India?
it's definitely gotten stronger, I think, because it's just that affirmation after affirmation that I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing. And it's not so much like, oh, I got this like really like sedity contract. It's not so much of that. It's just those familiar feelings that I'm receiving. So one thing I really try to stay true of is checking in within yourself. Because the outside world can give you various feelings and emotions and obstacles and chaos, but yourself, that's consistent. You are
Mm,
consistent. You know what I mean? You can only stay as consistent as, as a human being can. But what I mean by that is every time I check in with myself while I'm performing in between contracts, if it's still that same feeling of peace and happiness as far as like where I'm supposed to be, then I know I'm good. You know what I mean? Regardless of what's going on around me. And I think we all, as human beings, have to stay aware of that. I don't want to cuss, but screw what's going on around you.
Mm,
Really stay in tune with yourself. If you're happy, if you're satisfied, if you're content, if you're finding peace, you're supposed to be where you are. And if you're not finding that, you have to shift and adjust.
yeah.
And that was my adjustment within this past month, moving to New York. I was still finding that peace in performing, but my mental and emotional health wasn't right. So I had to shift. And being in the city, which you would think it's the opposite because the city is really rough, but
Mhm.
I found my sense of peace and happiness within myself by shifting into another city. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, being look, location, location, location. They say in showbiz,
Right?
right? And so,
Right.
this place is maddening. It's constantly
Yeah.
going. I mean, I,
Yeah.
I was working from home like most of last week, and I stepped off the train to go back into the city to work yesterday, and I was just literally like, why are all of these people weaving and bobbing and zigzagging everywhere? This is too much. It's too much. It's too much.
I love it.
Um, but it also feels like the right place for me in my life
Right.
because it's where I want to be.
Right.
Um, this is gonna be the worst pivot and transition of my life. I've done more eloquent things. But talking about being exactly where you want to be, I've got two of my faves on the first Love City Live today. I've got India Chanel, who is a musical theater extraordinaire, can sing down, and just moved to New York City to do some great, awesome, and mighty things. Glory. And then I've also got Timothy Glenn, who's here. The Awakened Magi is an astrologer and spiritual teacher. Um, I could go on and on. I don't want to mess up all of your I ams. I'll let you say your own I ams. But I'm so grateful to have you on because I really, really believe in the message that you're bringing in our time from a mystical perspective, and I just want people to hear more about that. Thank you, Alana. Also, she said, "Peace within the peace is a word." Okay, peace within the
Mm,
peace of your artistry, you were talking
right.
about earlier. And then she says, "Anything for my loves." Glad to have Alana watching along with the other people. And Timothy, take it away. What's going on for you on this fine Saturday?
Well, I want to make sure everyone can hear me. Can you
You,
hear me?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Very good. So, I've been fortunate enough to catch a little bit of this before I got on. I got on a little earlier than I thought, so I'm happy about that.
Hmm.
I'm so thankful and grateful for the message the young lady just gave there. So beautiful to hear and inspiring. Thank you for that. My name is Timothy Glenn, known as the Awakened Magi, and I guess as far as titles, that is still unfolding, right? As time goes on, it's being mirrored back to me exactly what I'm called to do, and that could change in a given day. So, spiritual teacher is good, or spiritual mentor, I guess, and astrologer can be put in there. I very rarely use the term astrologer first because it's what I do in astrology is a little bit different than most astrologers, right? My biggest thing with astrology is just to assist someone in discovering their human potential. And I get calls for lots of things. People want to know who their girlfriends are, where their boyfriends are,
Right.
husbands, wives, uh, when they're going to win the lottery. That's not what I do. I would recommend you call somebody else, but somebody who is at the crossroads of self discovery, wanting to know what moves to make that reflects their inner calling. I'm that guy. And, I've been doing this a long time, over 20 years, as far as the spiritual path. And I guess I'll talk a little bit about how that began. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, ever since I can remember, man, I've always been interested in human potential, right? Of course, as most in the South. I was raised in a church, uh, a Baptist church that I'm very proud of, by the way. It was the foundation and rock of everything that I was to do and didn't even know it. I was being groomed for that.
Mm.
Now, the way it turned out was probably a little different than what many around me suspected or expected. But nevertheless, I'm here and I'm doing what I love. I can remember around 9 and 10 years old, while all the other kids were, in their Sunday school classes, some outside doing their thing, playtime. I was like the assistant superintendent and superintendent of Sunday school, so I'm kind of facilitating the Sunday school adults as they go through their Sunday business. But they were grooming me, and I appreciated that. I guess I was a strange kid now that I look at myself back then.
Mm.
I remember telling my mom one time, you know, I enjoy funerals more than I enjoy church. Told her that.
Why was
Um,
that?
and yeah, it's strange and weird, right? That should let you know that this live is about to take a, a turn here, right? No.
I'm like, there's the exit. Where we going?
It,
Where are we going?
it, it was the only time I felt people were vulnerable and connected.
Oh.
I didn't really see that on Sunday morning because I was able to look at them the rest of the 6 days during the week. It was quite different.
Mm.
But in the time of a funeral, everybody was connected. Everybody was vulnerable. They were not afraid to show emotion. They weren't afraid to know that to let somebody know that I cared about this individual. I thought
Mm.
that was unique because again, even on a regular church day, I'm not really paying attention to the preacher. I'm paying attention to the people and how they're reacting to the message.
Mm.
So I've always been into people and how they think and how they acted and reacted. So I don't want to take up a lot of time here. So I'm trying to fast forward a
Take
lot
your
of stuff.
time, Pastor. Take your time. This is a long form conversation.
Um, I can remember having visions as a child. Many of them to this day, I can't really explain. I remember asking people around me about these visions. I remember asking questions about the Bible that did not make sense,
Mm.
that were not coherent, or even close to being linear as it related to me as in truth and empowerment. So I had questions. I was told that those questions were being motivated by Satan himself, and to not ask so many questions, but to trust God. Didn't know what that meant. So, to make a long story short, I pretty much became a minister and pastor. Um, I can remember pastoring in Cairo, Illinois, right? Do you remember the group Arrested Development?
Yeah.
Tennessee, right? Some of them were members of my ministry then.
Ah.
Yeah, beautiful people. I was able to see them again. I believe the elder of the group, you would probably remember the old man, joyful, dancing,
Mm,
blissful
mm,
in the
mm, mm,
videos.
mm.
He passed not too long ago.
Uh,
Um, so that group of people so unique are they're so beautiful. I just want to throw that in there. But I started pastoring,
mhm.
in my early 20s. Um, golly, and I'm fresh. And in between that time, I'm going back and forth in a lot of places. I mean, I've sold drugs between that time, clubbing a whole lot between that time. Um, love chasing women back in the day. That was
Oh,
my thing too.
okay.
So,
As a hobby.
all of that was part of my initiation, to really, because without that, I wouldn't know the struggles of the human experience. And I'm not trying to define anything as good and evil.
Right.
I feel that I live above that now, and I live in a level of truth, and truth is relevant to each individual. Okay, not
Mm,
just to one standard.
mm,
But it was my initiation. It let me be human for a little while before I start pastoring. While pastoring, on one hand, I'm studying all types of Bible dictionaries and lessons, lesson plans, sermons, and on the other hand, I'm studying metaphysics. Um, but I'm studying metaphysics in the shadows, and I'm preaching in the light. Um, that
Tell me
pretty
about what
much.
that's like to
Well,
be kind of, because I
well,
mean,
mhm,
from that community in the past, and I come from that tradition as well. A lot of people would say, "Well, that's hypocritical." Like you are literally
sure.
saying, this the Bible says,
Hmm.
on one side, and then on the other, you're like in a corner with your.
Absolutely. And I don't feel I'm alone in that. I feel that there are a lot of people out there like that, and I guess that is why um, I stepped into this thing to
Mm,
be a place that is safe to have this conversation, to
mm,
help one uncover the mysteries um, of scriptures and the mysteries of life. Even we met. That was a part of a unique program we have for the community, totally free in our city.
mhm.
It's called LOL. People think they're coming there to laugh. That's not what the LOL means. It means language of life,
Yes.
and we believe life has a language. But we do believe most people are illiterate to that language, or even understanding that. So we're kind of helping people, and that's not a negative thing. So I was one of those people who didn't understand how God spoke to individuals. I thought it was some audible voice. I thought it would be much less a phone call. Okay, God telling me this is what you need to be doing.
Right,
Okay,
right. Ring,
but
ring.
God speaks to us by mirroring back to us certain experiences that we have. Being able to interpret those experiences will help us understand His voice and the language of that voice, so that we can respond and not just react to life. Most people are reacting. Things happen, they react. We teach you how to really understand yourself and understand yourself to a point that you can properly respond to life events. I
So
think
you,
that's
you
very
you
important.
just said something that got my wheels turning, because I know that retrogrades are all about the re's of life, the
Yes,
re-responding,
absolutely.
re-understanding, and I mean, she dragged all of us earlier in the week. I don't know if Mercury is a she or a he, or if they in the
it's kind of
pronouns in
it's
the.
kind of neutral. It's
Okay,
kind of neutral.
that's
Yeah.
very 2019. Okay, great, 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 great. So great. So Mercury
Hmm.
in retrograde had us going through
Hmm.
it with
Hmm.
Facebook and Instagram. What was it, Wednesday, where like people had to realize what to do with their thumbs.
They right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so how does your work help us through this current retrograde that you weren't on earlier when I completely I could blame Mercury in retrograde on this, but it probably was just me being my wacky wonky self. We did the whole first 10 minutes of the stream with India doing a monologue, which was a beautiful monologue, and then me like
Yes.
on mute the whole time.
Oh wow. Yeah.
How do we
Absolutely.
how do we navigate the retrograde that's happening right now, and how long is it going through?
Okay. So this retrograde it'll be probably about 5 more strong weeks. You'll feel it.
Ugh.
Okay. It is a time to go back and have certain conversations. Um, Many people that you thought were out your life usually find their way back, maybe not to
Ugh.
stay, but maybe
Ugh.
not to stay. But again, if they find their way back, these are the lessons we must learn how to really reconcile with individuals, because there are so many people that we have not forgiven. And eventually you become what you don't forgive. That is my motto.
Say that again. Say that again, and say it
A-
slower for the people in the back. And by the
Absolutely.
people in the back, I mean me.
Yeah. So again, when people show back up in your life, it is so important to not resist this, no matter, how bad things are. It doesn't mean that you have to go to lunch. It just means that at least you need to recognize and look within to see if you have forgiven that person, because you will. It is not, you may, you will eventually become the person you do not forgive. Again, that's been a motto of mine for
Mm,
so long.
mm.
And the idea is that's ridiculous. She was this way, he was this way. And you fight like hell, resisting the image, only to have your children come one day. and tell you you're just like mom, your mom, that is. You're just like your father, or our grandfather.
Oof.
Uh, and the immediate reaction is just to resist this and not want to look at that, because this is the way of the ego. The ego does not want to look at any mirrors. It just wants to
Mhm.
put on the clothes without anything being reflected to it that would shine light on anything hidden. So again, this is our work. And I was kind of trying to give you some history where I come from with the church. And even from that point, we're having this conversation going backwards. That's part of the retrograde. Okay. Yeah, you'll have mechanical failures. This is the normal things in life. But I try to tell people, let's not be distracted by the shiny objects. If your phone is not working, or Facebook is not working, what is that a mirror and a reflection of in your daily life? What lessons did you learn? Oh,
Mhm.
I'm just pissed because I wasn't able to post anything. You missed the whole class, okay? Or at least you should,
You
or at
slept
least
through
you
the
should,
whole
yeah,
damn thing. Uh-huh.
or at least you showed up late for it.
Damn.
The question to ask is, um, what does it look like to entertain my own thoughts to myself? What am I thinking about myself? And what does it mean to really connect with people and call them friends? We have a lot of friends on Facebook. Of course, they're not really friends, but at least the title friend is on there. And we can look at that and know we're not alone, right? And that's the whole thing. And for one day, some people were actually, they felt alone and disconnected.
I know, and I want to extend compassion because sometimes I get accused of being a bitch. I want to, which Debbie Ford would call like my shadow side, the
Right,
other side of the moon.
right.
And I want to offer compassion to everyone who sincerely felt lonely during those hours when Facebook and Instagram. It sounds really bizarre to say, like in those hours, that solemn time when Facebook and Instagram, the
Yeah,
family app, Facebook app, the
right.
whole family, the
Absolutely.
cousins in them went down. One thing I found to be true is that if you're flowing like water, and this doesn't make me a unicorn, make me special, but if you're flowing like water, you will somehow
Hmm.
find everyone, because the thing about it, Indy and I were online that day as it was going
Hmm.
up and down, and then I realized it was an opportunity that I did not have India's personal number, and of course, like the cell towers were not affected,
Right.
and so we got that number real quick and then picked up the conversation and kept it going. And
Mhm. Yeah.
my takeaway, because I mean, what if the cell towers go down? Because I don't want to go into that whole apocalyptic kind of bullshit that I usually do. But because that's for a different episode. But um, one thing I did find to be true is that if you flow like water, you will find whatever you need and whomever you need. And also because I believe that what's real cannot be threatened or destroyed, I found my
Yes.
way to my lights. Um,
Yes.
Even if it was like I said, I don't think we could send pictures or something, which probably obliterated the. Oh, I saw something funny. It was like a meme that was like 250 Instagram models are gonna have to become dental hygienists today because there's no way to
Wow.
post a selfie. And I'm like, it's so. I mean, maybe I'm
Wow.
laughing about it because I'm not like a selfie person
Yeah.
or a
Yeah.
a person that I recognize this
Yeah.
for what it is, and my mission, as I talk to you three about it all the time. My mission is to take this technology that's being
Hmm.
used for, and bless you if this is your life, that's being used for. I want
Yeah.
to take
Yeah.
all of that energy and then just flip it into love. Which is the reason why we're on Twitter, Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube today. It's like if the gamers can do it, then
That's
we
right.
can be in these spaces. If we can find time to watch 5,000 hours of MJ and R. Kelly documentaries, then we can make time for love as well.
Yes.
That's
Absolutely.
where I'm coming from, but that's my whole little soapbox moment. Back to you.
Hmm.
You know, the that moment really was a profound mirror, and it was very interesting to watch how everyone related to it. What was that post you did though? Once we got back relatively online, although I think you were able to post before I could. I'm just put that out there for the record.
Hmm.
You said something online about. Hold on, do I need to get receipts? Um, you remember what it was? Like it was like a peach type of.
Hmm.
Hold on, I'll find the receipts. Um, and because this is live, we'll just
Well,
hold.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm pulling up receipts too, so
Okay.
I'm going. Yeah, I'm
Oh
already
yeah,
looking.
anything you can't control is teaching you
Yes,
how to let go.
absolutely.
Jackson Kidder. What did
Yes,
I mean?
absolutely.
Like,
Oh yeah. Any again, anything you can't control is teaching you how to let go. And that post is interesting, by the way. It brought a lot of people in my inbox actually wanting charts, and
oh,
yeah, absolutely. I'm just going back and thinking now. Blame it on the retrograde, but yeah, they really wanted to know more about that. What are you actually saying? I said, first of all, I didn't say it, but it was a quote that I shared. I got to put that out there.
let's be clear, okay?
But the truth is very universal
Yeah.
because there are so many things in our life that we're struggling trying to make happen. And there are certain things in our lives, certain people in our lives that we've become so codependent with that we can't even exist without their presence. So, but the question is, are any, and it's kind of cliche, but are any of these things serving a higher purpose, our path to life? A lot of things we're holding on to is actually causing us more pain than pleasure, more pain than inspiration. And I'm not saying that we should bypass all the conflicts in our
You're
life. I'm
saying
not telling.
we're pained and inspiration?
Right. I'm saying that a lot of people are holding on to things that are causing them more pain
Mm.
than pleasure,
Ah,
more pain than inspiration.
I see.
And
I
I'm
see.
yeah, I'm not telling people to just walk out of relationships because some relationships are built for the conflict. The conflict is what actually attracted you to them. I tell people all the time, whether it's a friend, whether it's uh, an intimate romantic relationship. We meet each other out of pain, not out of love. Now, I always tell people when you first meet in relationships, that day becomes Halloween because we put on this mask pretending to be something that we're really not because we
Mm.
want to put our best foot forward. We don't want to show you all of the baggage. That's not very attractive.
Mm.
But if I was ever to become single again, my first date would be more like a job interview rather than a first date because I'm
Oh,
asking,
let me.
yeah, there's a lot of questions I'm going to be asking just to get out the way.
That's it.
If those questions make the other individual uncomfortable, I know it's not meant to be.
That's it.
Because, and I say that comment, I say a lot of things that are weird. Just roll with me.
Yeah.
Um, because we do not look at the darkness within ourselves. We tend to attract people who will mirror it back to us. Okay. Now, the natural response is to just point fingers and say, it's their fault. I'm like this. Think about what you're saying. Think about the power that you just gave away.
Mm.
Right. So, working
Indy is like, yes, yes, yes.
working out conflict within oneself gives you the ability to attract that which you are becoming and not the pain that you're resisting. Okay.
Mm.
So, whatever you're resisting, looking at within yourself, you will be sure to attract that person in your life. And some people will be on the hamster wheel of life, pointing the finger at other people as why they are like they are, why they refuse to move as they should. Okay. So sometimes it's just easier to not try to control a situation, just let go. Okay. If you, if it's not in your ability to handle a situation, and sometimes you just got to let go. If a person doesn't want you, you have to let go of that person.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
we were talking earlier in the conversation with India about her transition into New York City, and
Yeah.
one thing that was powerful about her experience that I witnessed firsthand was her having to daily sometimes throw herself onto the floor,
Hmm.
and surrender. India, can you tell us about like your moments of surrender and what that felt like and looked like for you?
Um, as far as the journey getting here to New York, there was a lot of surrender. There was a lot of senses of like of letting go and just allowing faith to take the wheel and being able to trust that things are going to work out. I mean, things as far as just meditation. I remember right before I had to take, I was supposed to have someone take me to Megabus station to get to Memphis for my auditions before I moved to New York. Um, and that didn't work out. So I had to take an Uber. And that kind of worried me because, sometimes Uber can be, sketchy as far as like getting you there on time and all that stuff. So I had this like legit knot in my stomach. Like I had like a rock in my stomach and I felt that. And I was like, okay. So my sense of peace, the center is off. Something's wrong, and it's my anxiety. Like I know because everything is set in stone. I'm, time wise, my luggage, everything is good, but something within me, it's not right. So I had an extra 30 minutes before I left. So I legit took that 30 minutes, put on something as far as like meditation music, whatever. And I just sat there and I told myself, let it go. I had to allow myself to let it go. So with the deep breathing and the meditation and the silence and the stillness within that, I was able, that physical rock that I felt in my stomach went away after 20 to 30 minutes of just allowing myself, telling myself, okay, it's time to let go of this fear and of this anxiety. I tell you all the time, fear is always with us. You can allow it to drive in the car, you can allow it to be in the passenger seat or in the back seat. I'm choosing to allow it to be in the trunk because you're not going to guide what I have going on. You're not
Yeah,
driving.
yeah.
The fear is installed in us by human nature, like that we have to have that in order for survival. You know what I mean? To tell if you're in danger and all that stuff. So fear is always with us. It's up to you, on whether or not it's going to be driving your life.
How are you
And
going to
so
engage it and interact with it? Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So that's just one example of me being able to surrender and just let go of any fears or anxiety or of things that I cannot control, because I'm really big on that. Like I want to be able to control how things work out, and that's just impossible. And back to what Timothy was talking about with relationships and people, and being able to forgive, it's such an exhausting thing to do, um to hold on to the hurt that people have caused you.
Mm.
It's such a energy drainer. Like
I mean, yeah,
even,
even the person that cut you off in traffic, the person that like
yeah,
didn't make your latte the right way, big.
anything,
Mm,
something as small as that or as big as, your father not being in your life.
mm.
It's such an exhausting thing to hold on to, and it really stifles your growth, personally, when you allow that hurt, that guilt, that whatever it is to, hold you back. It's such a toxic thing. And yeah, I just want to say thank you, Timothy, for saying that, because it really, opened my eyes and just kind of like that nice reminder of like, okay, forgive, 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 not so much for them but for you, so that you can
Absolutely.
grow.
Mm, mm. So good, so good. Well, we're coming to the bottom of the hour. I mean, is there anything that you all want to say to our viewers, as it relates to the next week and how you would encourage them to conquer the next,
Yeah.
24 times 7?
Right. I know I want to say is one thing I want to say is Love City Arts for people. Shameless plug. Love City Arts is extremely supportive. It's an organization that is here to have these discussions, and I think a lot of people. I don't know if people are really aware of that. Like this organization is here for you, the viewers that are watching. We're here for you to regain that sense of confidence, to find that sense of peace, to, groom your art. I mean, any and everything. This is an area to be vulnerable. And I'm saying that because it got me here. Um, Me and, Andre and I, we've known each other for, going on a year now, since that rooftop party when I, chickened
Yes.
out of moving into New York. But the transition of coming from Georgia to New York, Love City Arts was there, and it helped me to, keep my sense of peace and confidence to execute. And
Mm.
I am like testimony number one of like that, like Love City Arts really does help. So if you're watching and you have, I mean, even the tiniest of questions, please get online and ask, and because we're here. That's just one thing that was on my heart that I needed to say. So
Well, that I didn't even hear. I didn't even see that coming down the down the track. Clickety clack. Thank you, India, for that shameless plug of love. And yeah. Now, anything that you want to tell them that's not related to Love City, like,
no. I mean, if anybody like needs a singer, background singer, I'm here. India
hey,
Chanel.
hey.
Uh, and we're gonna shameless plug everywhere. Let me plug
I
mine in.
love it. I love it.
India Chanel on Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. India Chanel.
So cool, so cool. And she can sing down, y'all. She could sing down.
So
Okay, and then Timothy, what would you like to say to our viewership um, for the next week?
Cool. First of all, let me give a shout out to my wife.
Okay.
Um, yeah, absolutely. Because, even the conversation I just had about the journey to get here, I didn't do that alone.
Mm,
I had a very uh, dedicated and loyal partner. Okay, her name is Jaquay Glenn. You know her well.
yeah.
And from that church that we talked about, we started an organization called Leadership Institute for Transformation and Empowerment, known as Light. Light eventually branched out to the Awakened Magi, and here I am. So I want to give love to all of my friends and companions coming up, building this work with me. I didn't do that alone.
Yes.
And I want to thank you, Andre, and Love City Arts. Just like uh, the young lady said, what's her name, by the way? Because I keep forgetting.
India.
India.
Beautiful name, India.
You, you,
Thank you so, thank you so
I was
much.
like, is there an 82-year-old man in this conversation? He's like the young
Yeah,
lady. It's like,
we yeah. I really should know her name.
no,
And
it's fine. It's fine.
hopefully one day she contacts me for a chart because I work with a lot of artists, and I really would love for her to know her unique way of sharing, because
Yeah.
you can definitely listen to her conversation. That is so powerful within itself. I think she's going to be a very powerful force in the area of inspiration to the world. Thank you for being you. This week, wow. So my thing is, one day at a time, be present, be with yourself. Don't be with who left. Don't be with who doesn't like you, who doesn't care for you. The list will be long there. Be there for yourself each and every day and see what actually shows up. Um, if As a matter of fact, what I'm doing this week, you can share with me. Every day I get up, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm asking myself, who am I? Okay. We're
Mm,
asking that every day this week. We're not going to resist what shows up. The ego has an idea of what it should be in the world. That part of you is programmed. It was trained since you were a child that is what you should do. And then there is the call of the soul, the inner awareness, and there's a way to get there. There's a broad way that's easy, and everybody seems to be traveling. You'll recognize that as you go. Then there is a road that may not have any pavement at all. Okay, a lot of wild brush there. Very
yeah.
few people are traveling that. I want to invite people to take that detour and go that way. Yes, there will be some dark times. There will be some struggles, some challenges, but this is all grooming and initiating you for something higher, something greater. Find yourself this week. Know who you are and not just what people have told you. Believe in yourself, grow within yourself and expand. And you never know, transformation is always there every day, every hour, every minute. So, yeah, just be mindful this week, be present this week with yourself, And whatever you have left, extend that to those you love.
Mm. Yes.
Wow. Wow. Well, I bow to that. So phenomenal. I want to thank both of you for being on the First Love City Live. We'll be back next Saturday at 12 noon to share in the love. India and I are still tinkering with the format and playing with like having people in the room and who's in the room, who's not in the room, who's watching across the room, like who's watching in the lake across the hall. Like that made no sense, but you know what I mean. Like we're still working through it. And so I want to thank
Andre, before we, I got to remember this. The Awakened Magi page on Facebook. I will forget because I get so caught up in the conversation. On Facebook, if you want to know more about what I do, if you take astrology as some type of magazine form of entertainment, this is not for you. If you're on the path of self-discovery, wanting to know how to share your gift, how to expand it, contact me. Facebook
I think
Facebook
India's
at the
going right
Awakened
now.
Magi.
Yeah. What is
Okay. The Awakened Magi, Magi. Okay. Should be a light-skinned dude with locks on the picture.
Don't even get me started on light-skinned dudes with this conversation and the trouble they make. No,
well, you might be right.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Go on. It's a great thing. Did you find it?
That's it.
Yes, we're good.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you.
Of course. Alanna says, oh, she left and then she came back to us. That's a good thing. We love when you come back. She says, yes, Miss India. She goes, thank you, Mr. Timothy, for speaking to the soul. Everyone has so much respect. You know, that reminds me of this viral clip that's going out with Miss Angelou when she's like getting the child together for calling her Maya, and she's like, everybody's just in here like the young lady, Miss India, Mr. Timothy, yeah, Mr. Andre, yeah. So anyway, I love the love that's shared. I'm committed, guys. The two of you both know this. Alanna knows this. Our viewers need to know. I'm committed to uplifting and empowering every creative person. Creative in the ways of astrology, creative in the ways of singing, dance, creative in the ways of basket weaving. I am committed from the rooter to the tutor to making sure that everyone feels supported, loved, and empowered to have the tools they need to live their truth, to put more love in the planet. And if there's any way for the viewers and the people that are watching, if there's any way that we can lend our resources to you, and lend our support to you, we will do that. LoveCityArts.org is the place to find that. It's scrolling down below and has been this entire conversation, so you know what that's all about. I'm going to place links to both India and Timothy on the website so that you can find them there or at their respective websites. The Awakened Magi on Facebook and then at India Shanelle on all the things. And I just want to thank you all for being here and really believing in this work. I believe that our community and our tribe will continue to grow, and that people who resonate with light and positivity and transformation will be found, because that is our right as citizens of the universe. That's how I feel about it. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you
Enjoy the rest of the day. I need to take a nap, so enjoy the rest of the day, everybody. Talk soon.
All right.
All the
Bye.
best. All the best.
Bye-bye.